Yes.
Some 4 decades ago, no soothsayer could predict that any resident of Britain would be found sleeping on the sofa in the open. It was inconceivable by any statistician. Then, there were no apparent data and figures pointing to this current direction. Today, however, the abominable and unpleasant images, both still and moving, about homelessness in Britain stare us in the face. The number of families with kids with nowhere to lay their heads is soaring. This happens everywhere in the United Kingdom, but with varying degrees of intensity. But why do we have this problem on our hands? How did we get here? Why is homelessness growing in Britain? This is the focus of this enlightening and factual video. How severe is the challenge? Britain has continued to be plagued by a chronic shortage of housing for more than a decade. In September 2020, however, average house prices hit a record high. Expectedly, rents have been rising in response to demand surges since many more people can't afford to buy a home. Consequently, households across Britain have been struggling to cope with soaring rents and mortgages. This is in addition to painful increases in the cost of food and energy that have characterized the past few years. Consumer price inflation in the UK remains at an unprecedented rate. In the context of the Group of Seven, a group comprised of the world's biggest economies, it's the highest level. According to CNN's interpretation of official data, the number of households living in temporary shelters or temporary accommodations in England and the UK has hit its highest level in 25 years. About 105,000 households were living in temporary accommodation in the first quarter of 2023. This was an increase of up to 10% in the figures from the same period last year. According to the Housing Department, that was also the highest number since 1998, when the British government started keeping records. While defining temporary accommodation, the Housing Department explains that the majority of households in temporary accommodation are now under the main homelessness duty. We'll tell you more about that later. To further identify the number of households classed as homeless and thereby consider accommodation as a priority, families with children were on top of the list. This number rose 20% in the first 3 months of 2023, compared with the same period in 2022. In addition, there were about 38,000 households at risk of falling into homelessness. This is broadly unchanged from what we had during the first quarter of 2022. What does the future hold? Given the grim picture just painted, there's a solid basis for the prediction that the number of people homeless in England alone is predicted to further aim for the sky by a third by 2024. Councils have warned of a tidal wave of need that would be caused by the freezing of benefits, soaring food and energy bills, and the end of COVID eviction bans. It has been estimated that about 66,000 more people will be homeless by the year, while the bulk of the increase will occur among people forced to sofa surf. Annual forecasts by the housing charity body Crisis and Heriot-Watt University agree with this position. The forecasts show that there'll be 8,000 more people rough sleeping, while 9,000 people will be forced into unsuitable temporary accommodation. The CEO of Crisis, Matt Downey, describes the findings as a huge cause for concern. Also, a survey of 155 English councils has found that 9 out of 10 town halls expect to witness an increase in evictions from rented homes in 2024, while 8 out of 10 fear increases in homeless children. An official of one council in southern England expressed his fear to the researchers by saying, "We are expecting a tidal wave," to put it mildly, adding that it is going to be a very, very busy couple of years. Incidentally, councils in London, where we have the highest living costs, are predicting the biggest surge. You know, the unwinding of the government measures to prevent homelessness during COVID-19 is a big factor in this prediction. Unpleasant statistics. One thing we've observed about the figures for homelessness in Britain is that there are conflicts. This is understandable because there is really no nationally acceptable figure for the number of homeless people across the country. Homelessness is often recorded differently in each of the 4 nations. Also, many people experiencing one sort of homelessness or the other don't show up in official statistics. In response to these concerns, Crisis, the organization mentioned earlier, carries out an annual study. The aim is to ascertain the number of people experiencing homelessness that are not being accurately recorded in official statistics. For instance, those considered in core homelessness are people found in rough sleeping, those living in sheds, garages, and other unconventional buildings, sofa surfers, and those in hostels and other unsuitable accommodations. On any given night, more than 200,000 households in England alone are among hundreds of thousands of families and individuals experiencing the worst forms of homelessness throughout Great Britain. Homelessness reached a peak in 2019, during which the number of homeless households skyrocketed, jumping from 207,600 in 2018 to over 219,000 before the year ran out. By the end of 2021, 227,000 households across Britain were experiencing core homelessness. There is every possibility that by the end of 2023, 300,000 households might face the worst forms of homelessness. Statistics on statutory homelessness as of March 2023 revealed a total of 104,510 households, including over 131,000 children in this situation. Types of homelessness. Let's throw more light on types of homelessness so that you might make some more sense of the terms we've mentioned. Rough sleeping. This is the most visible and dangerous type of homelessness. Rough sleeping is the beginning of homelessness, and the longer a person experiences it, the more likely he is to face challenges like trauma, mental health, and drug misuse. Statutory homelessness. This emanates from the local authorities' duty to find a home for some groups of people. People in this form of homelessness are said to be in the main homelessness duty. Tens of thousands of people apply every year to their local authority for homelessness assistance. To be legally defined as homeless, a person must either lack a secure place he is entitled to live or not reasonably be able to stay there. But to qualify for assistance under the main homelessness duty, there are other stricter criteria to meet. Thus, local authorities may initially support those meeting the criteria by providing temporary accommodation to such households. Hidden homelessness and core homelessness. Many people are not entitled to assistance with housing, or those don't even approach their councils for help. They aren't counted in the official statistics. Some of them stay in hostels, squats, or B&Bs, overcrowded accommodation, or concealed accommodation, such as on the floors or sofas of friends and family. At risk of homelessness. This defines the group of people who are more at risk of being pushed into homelessness. Those likely to experience this are those in low-paid jobs and those living in poverty and poor quality or insecure housing. In temporary accommodation. Throughout Great Britain, there were over 120,000 families and individuals staying in accommodation provided by their local council as of the end of September 2022. These people didn't have their own homes. Those accommodations include night/winter shelters, hostels, women's refuges, and private and social housing. The length of time people can stay in such accommodations can range from a night to many years. The root cause. In the final analysis, why do people become homeless? It happens for lots of different reasons. We can point to social causes of homelessness, which include a lack of affordable housing, poverty and unemployment, and other life events which push people out of their homes. For instance, people are forced into homelessness due to years of imprisonment. They may have also been in care or served in the army with no home to go back to. Certain events, such as violence or abuse in relationships, force many women and a few men into homelessness. A loss of mental or physical health and substance abuse or misuse put people under strain. Falling into homelessness can, in turn, complicate these problems and make many of them even harder to resolve. Human factors, such as landlords wanting to sell or even re-let their property, can lead to some form of homelessness. Tenants defaulting on rent payments due to some change in personal circumstances, such as the ones mentioned earlier, is also there. However, the good news is that homelessness in nearly all cases is preventable, and in every case, it can be ended. Please, let's continue this discussion in the comments section. What's the home situation where you live? Kindly share with us and other viewers any comments or questions on this matter. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.